In Windows, a virtual machine is a software-based representation of a physical computer that runs inside another computer. In this lesson, you will have a better understanding of virtual machine and its benefits. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to create a virtual machine. A virtual machine is a software-based emulation of a physical computer. It functions like a real computer, running an operating system and applications, but it exists as a software entity within a host machine. Virtual machines allow users to run multiple operating systems on a single physical machine and offer benefits like resource optimization, application isolation, and security enhancements. Some of the benefits of virtual machines are: 1. Virtual machine allows developers to test software and operating systems in a controlled environment without affecting the primary machine. 2. Virtual machine allows you to run older software or applications that might not be compatible with the current operating system. 3. Using virtual machine allows you to isolate potentially risky software or applications from the main system, thereby reducing the risk of malware or system compromise. 4. Virtual machine allows you to run different operating systems simultaneously on the same machine. And 5. Virtual machine reduces the need for multiple physical machines by virtualizing workloads on a single server. It's time for us to create our first virtual machine. The virtual machine will act as a domain controller. But before we talk about the domain controller, let us first create the virtual machine.
So this virtual machine is going to be the domain controller virtual machine, like I said. So what I will need to do now is to right click here and go to new, and I will select virtual machine. Another way is to select action and go to new and select virtual machine. You can as well come to this place and click new and select virtual machine. Now here, this is the first page of the virtual machine, and it's simply telling us that this wizard will create a virtual machine. We said that we can use the virtual machine in place of its physical computers for a variety of users. So I'll just click next, and the next thing that I will need to do now is to give this virtual machine a name. Now I will call it lag-dc1, and I'll click next. Then I will now need to select generation. Now there are two types of generation for virtual machine. We have generation 1 and generation 2. Now generation 1 virtual machine support 32-bit and 64-bit guest operating system and provides virtual machine which has been available in all previous versions of Hyper-V. While generation 2 provides support for newer virtualization features like UEFI-based firmware and requires support for 64-bit guest operating system. Now, since my operating system that I will install on this virtual machine later is going to be 64-bit because it's going to be Windows Server 2025, I will leave it as generation 2. I can as well select generation 1, then I will click next. The next thing that I will need to do now is to select the startup memory. For the startup memory, I can use 1024, that's 1024 megabytes. What does that mean? It simply means that it's going to be what? 1 gigabyte. Now look at this checkbox. It's talking about dynamic memory. Now if I leave it like this, it simply means that this 1024 is going to be the start memory. It simply means that this memory can be increased. It now depends on the number of memory that is available from the host. Now for this demonstration, I'm not going to check this because it's not going to make any sense for me at all. So I'm going to leave it this way now, then I will click next. Then I will need to now select the networking. If you remember in the previous lesson, we configured 3 virtual networks: the private network, the internal network, and the external network. So at this point now, I'm going to pick one of the network, which is the private network. Now you can connect multiple networks to your virtual machine, but at this point you can only pick one. So you can now add other virtual network after you have created the virtual machine. Now we'll click next, and it's not talking about what the disk for the virtual machine. Now the disk of the virtual machine is known as virtual hard disk. So it's going to use the name of the virtual machine with the extension of VHDX as the virtual machine hard disk name. And by default, it's going to store it in this location. And by default, the size is going to be 127 gigabytes in terms of the size of the virtual hard disk. Now you can extend it up to 64 terabytes, but this now depends on the size of your host in terms of the physical hard disk of your host, because this will still reside inside the host. So the same thing is applicable when you're trying to select the size for the RAM. It's going to take this RAM away from your host. So if your host is running, let's say 10 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes or 16 gigabytes of RAM, remember that whatever the size you configure here, it will take it away from that host by the time you start running the virtual machine. So at this point now, I'm going to click next. But before I click next, I want to show you these other two options. Now, this other option is talking about using an existing virtual hard disk. It simply means that if I have an existing virtual hard disk, I can actually connect it here. So it simply means that I don't need to create a new hard disk. And this one is talking about having an hard disk or attaching an hard disk to this later. And this one is saying that we can attach hard disks to this virtual machine later. But I'm going to leave it this way, and I will click next. Now it's not talking about installation option. This one is talking about how we are going to install an operating system on it. We have four options. The first option is that we are going to install the operating system later, and that's what's going to happen. In this lesson, I'm not going to install the operating system on this virtual machine. But if you're going to install the operating system in your own case, then you can select this option. Then you can now connect your ISO from here. We're going to take care of that one in the next lesson. You can also install from where? From the floppy disk. And you can also install from what? Network-based installation server. So like I said, I'm going to leave it like this. I'm not going to install any operating system now. I'll do that in the next lesson. Then I will click next, and this is the summary of what we just configured now. Then I will click finish. Now it's creating the hard disk and it's adding everything. Look at it again. Lag DC1. This is the virtual machine that we just created now, and that is how you can create a virtual machine in Hyper-V.
In this lesson, you have learned about virtual machine and its benefit. You have also learned how to create a virtual machine. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to this channel. Please, let me know what you think in the comment section. And do not forget to leave a like and share this video. See you in the next one.